whole story began 7 years ago. I was going through a health assessment commission for my driving license, which stated that I had a spot on my lungs. 1 month later, I was diagnosed with tuberculosis, instead of going to another town for a double check there if this was a normal chemical burn, like every other normal doctor would have suggested. I believed in doctors from the driving examination. I found I was wrong a few years later when I visited another town. Anyway, the whole point is completely different. I was young and mentally unstable for the kind of information. The doctors terrified me among removing my lungs, that I am a step away from death, and that if I don't take my medicine, I will certainly get worse. Most surprisingly, no one exerted seeing my healthy blood that was absolutely in great condition, and none viewed towards acknowledging my saliva tests. They gave me a huge dose of drugs for the first month. Some of them were relatively harmless, however, they shouldn't address it to healthy people. Essentially, they will be setting them into a risk of contamination with tuberculosis, including weakening their body. Others can even provide them with narcotic chemicals. During that time, I was completing my last year in an art school. For 2 months after I proceeded the usage of those prescribed drugs, I lost 15 kg. With a height of 180 cm and a weight of 50 kg, my skin started converting into white and pale color, my eyes were always red, my hair began to fall and my teeth got broken. The doctors then conducted a photo for my appearance and said that I need to duplicate the dose. During the 3rd month, I noticed some serious problems affecting my memory. Sometimes I didn't remember how I fell asleep. Since there was a lot of studies, it was necessary to draw a lot. Sometimes I was painting so many and forgetting how I finished this in a part. I couldn't take care of my studies because I was concentrated on my therapy and consuming my pills. But one morning, I woke up and saw a huge number of sketches that had nothing to do with the theme of my assignments. One of the sketches was a drawing of a masked man with an interesting shape, including an inscription, Seth, whose features I saw in the mask. This happened for the first time. Psychotherapists said it is a dissociative disorder. But it wasn't. This is not true. I feel clear. I know that I am me. And with whom I further started communicating introduced himself as Wolfor Koadon. Since my childhood, I thought the strange voices telling me about everything around as angels. As I got a little older, religious fanatics tried to convince me that those voices in my head were demons and that I need to get rid of them. I was scared to tell someone about my friend, so I kept it a secret. Later, I tried to avoid the voices in my head, and they suddenly disappeared. Just before I woke up in the room with the drawings, he told me a lot of points. Firstly, I am healthy, and that the doctors are not realizing that they are killing me. Later, I stopped taking my medication, and surprisingly after 1 month, my skin condition was back to normal. In addition, I started to gain weight and feel happy. Naturally, I was more concerned with my communication with Wolfor, who he is, where and why do I hear him, and why sometimes I feel like he controls my body instead of me. Well, it appears that nothing is as simple as it seems. It was madness to tell someone, but that's when I began to write a fiction book based on the information he was giving me. Eventually, I found out the name of our planet Earth. Her name is called Akiara, and it is not our home planet. Our family went from another parasite planet called Arkrad. I will try to explain this briefly. During the emergence of intelligent life that was on the planet Akiara, there were many parasitic creatures. Those creatures changed the course of the natural selection, and the formation of the planet's energetic fields. Some of these creatures settled in the ocean, and others dominated on land. Akiara created the first intelligent beings, gifting them with their own energy. They are called borders. Humanity has never seen such an organism because these creatures were the crown of the creation of nature. Their task was to exterminate all creatures that interrupt the energy streams, and they succeeded. aquatic creatures called Yunya were driven into the oceans without the desired halt to land. As for the amphibious mega-predators, their parasitic brethren were killed. The board group suffered great loss and they decided not to waste what was left from their energy forces. They sacrificed their lives to create a new one. Their energy was literally transformed to seeds for the 7 trees that were planted in OKR. In the future, their roots will split the single mainland into pieces. The two trees grew and gave the first fruits, which looked like giants' cocoons, and inside were living organisms similar to us humans. They call themselves acid. The first generation inherited the direct memories of the borders. That way they knew how and where to follow, for what to live and for what to fight. Here I will make a small digression. The sets were mortal but could be granted immortality for a certain price. A choice was made: continuous generation, meet old age and then die. Or chose the path of a warrior and abandoned the opportunity to create the next generation. That's when the energy is locked directly with a Kiara and Seth becomes immortal. This way, Kiara managed to compensate the energy deficiency and redistribute them among all her children. According to Wolfor, she could communicate with anyone who simply wanted it. After all, she was their mother. I also want to add that among the 7 trees, there were only 6 for 2 that generated the warrior sets. The 7th was special. It gave rise to 1 warrior and the rest were peaceful. Sets that could never hurt another, even if the situation is in force. Therefore, they tried to keep inaccessible places away from the ocean. The time came when ships started arriving on the plain. Many empires carried out expanded their possessions and presence in space. Kiara became a kind of golden energy mine. A massacre has begun on the planet, during which the enemies tried to kill each other and to destroy the native population. But sets fought back despite the superiority of technologically advanced aliens. Then, during these weeks, a village was damaged in which there was a civilian population. One set lost a family during the massacre and was reborn energetically. It was a new creature. In an instant second, it killed everyone who came to the village. Surviving this set, infected with its energy, they became the same as Ipshaborns. In one night, technologically advanced empires with numerous armies suffered great loss and their fleet was destroyed. This way the planet was crowded with many different races of people. But the reborn set was not going to stop there. He continued killing to change his brothers. One empire that dominated the invasion, called II, connected with their superiors explaining who and what destroyed their army. Saxons, that was the name of the people of the I Empire. They waited for their commander, hiding from the attacks of the reborn. The High Saxon, coming straight to Kiara from Arkrad, knew that the reborn pain was a new being. He knew that he could not kill him, because it was no longer possible. Knowing this, the high ruler of the Saxons, Aogomi, decided to use the energy of the human soul of each person as a dungeon, in which he imprisoned all reborn sets. One for each. After, he destroyed all technologies on the planet. Now the humans are like in the Stone Age. He cleared the memory of almost everyone, leaving memories to certain people, in order to monitor and control the population. Do not let information to the Earth's field. Do not delve into memories. Meanwhile, Kiara became a milking cow, whom they pumped out energy and sent it to Arkrad. The same thing is happening to people. Some of the souls are incarnated, another part which follows the religions are sent straight to the conveyor. Saxons that are remaining with their memories receive immortality due to the good nourishment of Arkrad. That is why they try every 30 to 50 years to make a high scale of harvests in which die hundreds of thousands of souls. Time has passed and Reborn found a way to affect the bearer of their dungeon. Naturally, they tried to isolate the people from their society, and that is to suppress this connection and prevent it from developing. Other times they do this unconsciously. The stereotype is that if you hear voices in your head you are crazy and you are to be locked with other crazy people. They kill you with these pills and cripple your biofield, after which you slowly become a vegetable. His story is definitely interesting, but I started to get worried for Arkrad, and I saw him recently. The planet is carved throughout the whole surface with honeycombs from domes, and one of them is ours. Identical world which they live, transported from Akiara to Arkrad. A flat land under the energy dome, and we as a farm, produce life. But Akiara is bypassing the fifth way. She is now kind of like a carnivore. The reborn cannot be freed. Otherwise, the pantheon of Saktans, ancestors of the Jews and other parasitic souls, will end. I try to find information about my vision, but I stumble only on feature films and science fiction. Wolfor says that this is how it is supposed to be, that the author himself, without understanding, sends signals to other Wolfers. And there are more and more of these signals. And when I saw the flat ground under the dome, I started looking for information. Then I came across your channel and I heard a lot here. The main goal of the total oblivion of the memory of mankind about the Wolfers was not simple. A huge number of people remained on the new planet who needed to be controlled, which turned out to be quite difficult. Different energy flows were all default, and the adaptation of creatures to the new Earth was difficult. The Saktans, who remained responsible for the order at Akiara, began to notice that it was not the newborn body that was getting used to the new energy, but quite opposite. Akiara was not a parasitic planet, she needed to splash energy into any living creature. Newborn Saktans and other people acquired a hybrid structure of the soul, a new generation of people, Arkrad and Akiara. Along with it are the memories of the planet that was occupied. As a result, such a problem appears for the Empire. Anytime, a generation of children may appear who will carry memory of what is happening on the planet Akiara from birth. In other words, there will be a revival of the people who were brought out by genocide. Worse could have led to the discovery of dungeons in which the Wolfers are imprisoned. Then the time has come for the introduction of energy and biological parasites, in order to shorten the life cycle, and remove the possible risk of wisdom. And energy parasites will have to break consciousness, make a person weak-willed, malleable, hide. Basic fears and disgusts were also introduced, to which everything related to assets. For example, if you take one of the patrimonial clans for Essethekinas, they were close to the nature of cold-blooded, and in honor they had snakes. They were their symbol of strength. And for Seth of the genus Nuon, whose preferences were given primarily to spiders, and then to other insects. Energoparasites act as irritants, they become silent when you nourish them, and their fellow bioparasites. If you look now at what is happening around, people smoking, drinking, using drugs, and suffer when they try something from which the parasites can die. Similarly, grudge in humans, it feeds all parasites. Usual music or TV show will satisfy the parasite, but if you take up a book or art. Many times I came across different reactions to the sign of the sex. Some perceive it as something dark, as they said the satanic sign, others called it the swastikas, and there were those who calmly reacted to it, and even more so, it stuck into their souls. As it turned out later, everything is simple. Here the connection with the nature of the energy of Akiara appears, and those who took the sign awfully to verbal seizures and foam from the mouth. These people were typical cattle, these parasites just might not be afraid of a healthy diet. They were good people. They are generally fair from birth, have good to eat, endowed with pity. But they did not feel anything at the sight of a dead animal or a burned forest. It is just that the energy of Arkrad conquer in them, which means that they will take the sign extremely hard. And now for the advantage. When a person goes deeper to the roots, turns to nature, does not smoke, does not drink, the following happens: the energy of Arkrad gradually departs, giving way to Akiara. A person gets the opportunity to think purely and see clearly, but there is also feedback. Furthermore, it is not necessary to be an addict or an alcoholic. It is enough to go to the temple or read the prayer of any slave religion. Here, all the flows of Akira will be closed. There will be only one that will help you to survive, but also not for long, because then the system of human elimination will be launched. I really hope that in the near future, many people will be free from the shackles of manipulation. I sincerely hope that I am not the only one to find this freedom to use. Resist the system. Soon we will be many. So not all is lost. I thought for a long time why Wolfor told me everything, showed this sign and gave instructions to write a book and look for other Wolfors. But then I realized, those who are free must recognize each other, and the sign of the set will soon personify freedom in the fight against these actants.